Good afternoon and welcome to the Understanding the OASIS eTMF Specification for Technical Professionals webinar. Today we have two speakers, Zach Schmidt, who is the co-chair of the OASIS eTMF Technical Committee and CEO of SureClinical, as well as Rich Lustig, who is a member of the OASIS eTMF TC and Senior Product Manager of Oracle Corporation. Zach, I now turn it over to you, who will be the first speaker.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get started. Our agenda today is to discuss the background and problem of the eTMF area and eClinical applications, and discuss the eTMF specification and go ahead with a demo of National Cancer Institute Controlled Vocabulary, a tool called Protege for open source editing of eTMF taxonomies, and we'll take a quick look at an eTMF application in a web browser working offline. And then finally we'll have questions. The first question is, who is the OASIS eTMF Standard Technical Committee and who are the members? So briefly, as you can see from this slide, we have a really rich set of vendors and research organizations, people from the university space, and we're really excited to have this group, a growing group of organizations. We were just joined recently by Fujitsu and another vendor that is not on here, but we are really excited to have everybody part of this initiative. The OASIS Open, sometimes we get questions, who is OASIS? If you're in the clinical space, you've heard of organizations like CDESC, and you may be wondering who OASIS is. Well, OASIS is, in the technology space, the leading global standards organization for development of technology, interoperable technology standards. They've got 600 plus organizations with over 5,000 members worldwide. We're really excited to be a part of this group. Major vendors in the enterprise content management space are listed at the bottom. I want to briefly point out on this slide, one of the questions we also got are, what are the criteria for how do we select OASIS? And we looked at a lot of standards organizations when we were getting started with this initiative, and OASIS was the most prestigious, if you will, global standards organization, in the sense that they were open to everybody. They had published processes, transparent policies, very, very open and transparent. And to us, that was really critical. We wanted all the results of our work to be open and available to the industry without any qualifications. There's also a really strong group of vendors involved with the initiative. The OASIS Enterprise Content Management vendors listed at the bottom are specialists in document management area and have teamed together to develop something called the CMIS Content Management Interoperability Standard, which allows organizations to share information between application platforms seamlessly. So this is a really critical part of what we're doing, and we'll talk about that later. First of all, what's the problem that's being solved here? As everybody knows, clinical trials and healthcare industry is rapidly moving away from paper toward electronic systems. In order to make this happen, and by the way, this is really going to result in increased productivity and time savings, faster time for new drugs to market, and more effective therapies. The big problem that we face, though, is in this area to make this happen and move from paper to electronic systems is data standards. We've got to have a way to share information seamlessly, to utilize data standards for effectively exchanging information. We need solutions that will support elimination of paper, digital signatures, business process modeling standards, interoperability standards. We need controlled vocabularies, so when we do a search, we can find things across systems. And we need to define format for a core set of eTMF documents, records, and metadata. And finally, because these systems are used in the development of drugs and therapies, they need to be and have built in the support for agency compliance. Why is this important? Why are we here? The development of data standards can be somewhat dry, but really provide tremendous opportunities for organizations in terms of flexibility, productivity, and innovation. Without a standard, it's difficult to make systems talk to each other, between each other, and it's expensive to maintain. It's also results in vendor lock-in. This can be bad for organizations, and when you start to implement data standards like standards that are built upon a platform like OASIS, you can allow interoperability and really reduce costs and time to get solutions implemented. Some of the core requirements that we had when we started this initiative, and these are from our charter, are listed in this slide. And there's a lot of data here. I'm going to kind of go through it fairly quickly, and I'll make sure these slides are posted for people later on. At a high level, we wanted, again, paperless transaction support. We wanted to be able to support digital signature technologies, and we looked to organizations like Safe BioPharma and others in the area of digital signatures. We wanted standard-based controlled vocabulary that people could use across organizations and applications. Of course, we need flexibility in the model so that we wouldn't be locked in, and organizations could adapt whatever is out there to meet their specific business needs. The other few items that are important here has to be open. We wanted to use open standards that were in use by organizations like CDISC, National Cancer Institute, FDA Fuse Project, HL7, so we looked at those other organizations. We wanted to support any media type, various office formats, media image formats, and so forth, and we didn't want any restrictions. We wanted to have a portability so that any operating system, network, language could be supported, cloud-based, online or offline. We wanted interoperability, and another couple of key points here: localization, the ability to support multiple languages around the world with Unicode-based standards. And finally, agency compliance with built-in audit trail information through the metadata, which is supported through XML. All right, let's talk about the architecture. And at a high level, we have what we call a classification system layer that describes what's in the eTMF content, and it develops a content model with metadata and a classification policies and rules. At the second layer, we have something we call the vocabulary layer, which is primarily metadata vocabulary, which is comprised of inputs from standards organizations such as National Cancer Institute, CDISC, Bridge, HL7, industry group terms, and organization-specific terms. We have flexibility to allow organizations to define their own terms while maintaining interoperability. And then finally, the web technology layer is really sort of the core set of services below that provide interoperability, the ability to exchange with other systems, the ability to have digital signatures, and business process modeling. The OASIS eTMF initiative, the key thing is this is a standard built upon standards. Because we are using both web standards and a controlled vocabulary which is posted by the National Cancer Institute, we believe that there will be the flexibility for organizations to integrate between other systems that use web standards, be it a CTMS system, an ECRF, an eTMF system, or other systems that may be out there in organizations today. So going forward, the use of web standards provides a path for migration and integration that's critical. This kind of integration is going to result in higher productivity for organizations, and the use of standards enables this kind of interoperability. Our initiative has three major deliverables. We have as part of our architecture, a published controlled vocabulary that we are developing with the input of multiple organizations, as I mentioned. And it will support the elimination of paper. It has also eTMF domain-specific content classifications. The second element is that the machine code, or the machine-readable taxonomy, which I'll show you in demonstration, which is based on the W3C RDF XML standard. And then finally, we have the published content model, data model for the exchange of information and how you can view this information either online or offline. And we'll be providing guidance on how organizations can utilize the OASIS seamless standard to integrate with content management systems that may be out there in place today. Let's take a quick look at what's in the specification that we're announcing today. We have about a 40-page specification, which is available for comment and review. We also have the machine code, RDF machine code, and an Excel spreadsheet. That's going to be in the spec itself. Sometimes we get questions from industry. We hear some organizations have used the TMF reference model, and they wanted to know whether the OASIS eTMF standard could support that. And the answer is absolutely yes. The OASIS eTMF standard was designed in such a way that it could, because we use web standards, we can support virtually any content model that's out there, with the caveat that there needs to be a core set of metadata terms and classifications that are underlying whatever content model you use. So absolutely, we can support it. We have the ability with display labels to change whatever users see to be different from what's underneath the underlying core code. And finally on this slide, we have the ability through Unicode to support multiple languages, Japanese, Russian, French, Italian, German, really across the board. And that's really important as you roll out global clinical trials. We have done some initial mapping to the TMF reference model and we published a terms mapping sheet, a spreadsheet. This will be modified over time and maintained in the next few months by OASIS. And then the NCI Thesaurus, or the National Cancer Institute Thesaurus, will publish and maintain the terms that we use in their global term repository. Who is the National Cancer Institute, and why would we put our terms there? So the National Cancer Institute Thesaurus is a global terms database of controlled vocabulary terms. What that means is that every word or every term in their database has a code associated with it, and that a defined definition and concept, which is published out there on the web for anybody to use. Organizations that use this are pretty well known: FDA, CDISC, MEDRA, HL7, ICD, World Health Organization. Really, this is the NCI Thesaurus is the largest global repository for health science metadata in use in the world, and it's very widely used. So that's why we selected it as our repository. Background on the application architecture and where we're focused. We, just for clarification in OASIS, we are not here to tell organizations what they need to present in their application or what they need to show to other sponsors or organizations they're working with or CROs. That's what we call the presentation layer. What you see in the application is up to your application vendor and how you want to create that classification taxonomy to look. We are all about developing the back end, if you will, application services layer based on standards and data services layer. So that's where our focus is, and the benefit is that you can display things the way you want, but still have standards. Where are we in our process? We are about halfway through, I guess, or maybe close to that in terms of moving toward a global OASIS standard for the eTMF area. Our next milestone is to do another public review of this work. We're getting great feedback now. We want to refine our work, do another public review, and then move toward candidate standard. And so this is a process that's well defined and published in OASIS, another reason why we selected OASIS to be our standards group. We've had tremendous feedback in this initiative with reviewers already, organizations such as CDIS, FDA, European Union EMA, and many others have agreed to review the work. We encourage you guys to do that who are listeners today, and hopefully you can get a chance to go through the OASIS comment period. It's open to everybody, that process. Here's how you can participate. Simply go to the OASIS website. These links will be posted. Go to OASIS and download the specification and the code. You can make comments there as well. And here's what we suggest on the comments. It's really helpful for us if you can give specific suggestions in your comments that are more solution focused, and give us some suggestions on how you'd like to see the specification move. So this is just a brief overview of how to do that. Let's go through a demonstration. It looks like we're doing well on time here. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time before we get into the Q&A. And the first thing I'm going to demonstrate is the National Cancer Institute's NCI thesaurus. And then we'll talk about Protégé and what that does and how you can view eTMF taxonomies. And then finally, we'll look at an eTMF archive in a web browser. Okay. So what I'm displaying on my screen here is the National Cancer Institute thesaurus website. And again, this group has thousands, I think maybe even millions of terms. It says here the NCI Metathesaurus has 4 million terms. So if you were to do a search related to the eTMF domain area, you would come up with a lot of terms here that we've already published with NCI, such as case report form, category code, category type, trial master file plan. These are all published on NCI thesaurus. So I just want to briefly show that to you. I will see if I can drill down on one of these terms to give you an idea of what they look like. So for example, clinical study sponsor would be the one that's published, and this has a definition of what that is. CDIS has also participated in this, so in this case we used a CDIS term. There's other terms here which, in this case, for example, I think might be specific to the eTMF area. And this is actually a category type, so this is specific to the eTMF domain. Anyway, those terms are all published, and by the way, the really cool thing about this is that each one of these terms has a URL, and they have a definitive code, a unique code that's published. There's also semantic relationships. If you want to drill down into that, you can look at that. This is all curated by the National Cancer Institute. So let's switch over and talk about the next item in our demo, which is the Protégé tool. So for those of you who go to OASIS and download the code, you'll see a file that says etmf.owl. And if I open this with a simple text editor, I'll see some XML code here that looks fairly familiar to developers, as well as some RDF code mixed in. So this is called RDF XML. And here we'll notice things like annotation properties, and we will see other information, categories. Let's see if I can drill down here. not to bore you with the bloody details of the code, but this is all standards-based stuff, and that's one of the reasons we selected it. This is a tool from Stanford University called Purge. It's one of the, I think, most widely used tools for editing RDF XML, and it provides you with a way to import the OASIS eTMF model, which I've done here. And you'll see the eTMF hierarchy here organized at a root level with categories and subcategories, and what we also call content types. As I drill down into a content type, let's say clinical study report, I'll see information about that content type. I'll see its code. I can see here that the NCI code is C79176. It has a unique category code as well, and information which we call annotation properties, which describe synonyms. There's also a URL to link to that published term on NCI Thesaurus. And this is information that's available for you to navigate through and investigate further. There's also something we call, in addition to these classes, there's also something we call data properties. And data properties we have split up into core metadata, domain-specific metadata, and general metadata. This is the metadata that allows you to exchange information between systems. We are, again, using NCI, National Cancer Institute-based information terms, and this allows you to exchange between systems as long as you're using core metadata. Records and information should be readily exchangeable or searchable, for that matter. The other area that we have here is annotation properties. These properties describe content types or classifications further in detail, and if you want to, you can drill down on that. Again, so the main areas you want to be concerned with, if you go ahead and download this, do a search on the internet if you need to. We'll post this link. Download Purge. It's a free open source taxonomy editing tool. Go ahead and then open the eTMF model. Cancel that. I'll select that, open it. It's just that simple. Then go ahead and click on classes. You can drill down on the different classifications or categories. You can drill down on data properties, and you can also drill down on annotation property. Those are the main areas that we've defined in our application. So let's switch over finally. After you've developed your content model using the eTMF specification, you can, of course, modify it if you want to, but you can, more importantly, you can also share it with others, whether it be through the cloud or whether it be online in network systems or even offline. For example, here, what we've done is we've created a set of folders and a web-based hierarchy that shows through a simple web browser. You can see here I'm just operating in an offline mode. I can navigate through the eTMF and drill down on documents. In this case, for some reason it's not showing it. I think I don't have my PDF view. Yeah, I don't think I have my PDF plugin hooked in here. But if I did, I could just drill down onto that PDF document and show it. I can also see the metadata here as well. So what we're concerned with in our application efforts at OASIS is not in showing you how to build applications and not telling you how to present this information. That's up to the application vendors. We're really just creating a model for how to exchange this information using web standards. That's what this is all about. So with that said, I think I've pretty much covered most of the demo, and I think what I'm going to do, I'm running pretty good on time here, leave us with about 20 minutes or so for questions and answers. If Jane, if Rich and I could handle the Q&A at this point, I'll switch back to my presentation and we'll open it up for questions.
Sure, guys, that was great. Thank you very much. This is Dee. So let's go to our first question. Can you provide suggestions, excuse me, on how organizations and vendors who have implemented the TMF reference model can migrate to the new OASIS eTMF standard?
Thank you, Dee, for the question. I think I'll take this one, Rich, if that's okay. So migration within the OASIS eTMF framework is actually designed to be very simple and transparent because we are using web standards and we are using published terms. The migration is relatively straightforward. The good news is the TMF reference model is primarily comprised of a simple set of terms in a spreadsheet. So from a software standpoint, this boils down to a mapping of terms between the TMF reference model and the controlled vocabulary used by OASIS. As part of a mapping strategy, we have provided some guidance in a spreadsheet which has been published, and we'll continue to update that. It's not complete yet. It's probably 95% complete, but we intend to do our best to provide some one-to-one mapping with the TMF reference model, with the caveat that there will be some terms in the TMF reference model that ideally they will adopt some of the OASIS terms to enable a one-to-one mapping. But we don't rely on that. There also is the flexibility to modify within our model terms to meet organization-specific needs. To ensure interoperability in any migration, ask your eTMF software vendor or your software vendor to adopt the W3C standard RDF XML so that you can enable seamless electronic exchange and migration between systems. Any more questions?
Okay, Rich, did you have anything to add there?
No, not to that one.
Okay. How about this one? Can the OASIS eTMF specification and technology enable exchange of data between eTMF systems and clinical trial management systems?
So,
Zach, if you want, I can.
Go ahead, Rich. Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead, Rich. Please.
Okay. That's a very interesting question, and actually it's even a rather broader question. The TMF reference model itself is pretty broad. I mean, as you would imagine, it encompasses the entire body of documents related to a clinical trial, really from the planning, protocol development stages all the way through decommissioning, safety analysis and reporting, and so forth. And at least in my experience in the electronic world with these eTMF, what an eTMF vendor is trying to do is basically emulate this model in an electronic format and organize it in such a way that documents can be stored, not just stored in a system, but stored appropriately, with the appropriate metadata associated with the document, so that it makes searching, sorting, and usage, for downstream functions like ECTD, document accumulation, easier to do. So, and it's not just so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not just documents from CTMS systems. You could be talking about documents from systems that handle protocol definition, trial supply management, safety, and so on and so forth. And I think where we're heading in this, we're heading in this standard is because it's standard based, and because we're using conventional XML structures, it should be a fairly straightforward matter for vendors or other groups that subscribe to the standards to take the data that comes from some other place and not only consume it, but consume it in such a way that it would be put in the right place within the hierarchy, and then be made easily available. I think when I took a quick look at this, just as sort of as a general thing, I think I saw out of the various TMF reference model zones, I think there were something like 8 different zones where documents coming out of a CTMS system would be appropriate, and then there's additional zones that, as I said, could be handled by other systems that deal in areas such as safety or trial supply. So I think where this, I'm sorry if this is a bit of a long-winded answer, but I think not only are we going to be in a position to support the integration of CTMS systems into the reference model, the electronic reference model, but I think we'll be able to go beyond that really and deal with the whole corpus of documents that get populated in that model. So I hope that answers the question.
Zach, did you want to add anything?
Thanks, Rich. No, well put, Rich. Thank you.
Okay, great.
I will say this. Actually, one point I would like to add to Rich's, if I can, just for clarification. Today, in the OASIS eTMF initiative, we don't have any specific examples of how to do an integration between a CTMS system and an eTMF system. But like Rich said, because we're XML-based, we believe vendors should not have any problem with making that happen. But it's currently not in our on our roadmap today. It could be in a future release, and we'd certainly like to get feedback if there's additional interest from the industry. Please comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this was actually, you touched on it a bit, Zach, but let's just go ahead and review it. What is the need and purpose of creating OASIS eTMF structure or model, and what are the aims and future objectives? So that's really good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you say this is a question from the audience again? Is that right?
Yes, it is. So it's really talking about, what was the motivation for actually starting up this effort, creating the OASIS, great. And then also, what are the future goals and objectives?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So good question. I think there's a couple of slides here if I can bring that up. Why was this initiative started? As I think people realize, we are moving from paper to electronic systems. Without, currently all of us take for granted email and the web browser paradigm, where we can search for information on the internet and just find whatever we want, because there is something called HTML, which is a common language for finding information. In the electronic world, we have standards. In the paper world, we have paper, so we needed a way to move from paper to electronic world with standards like technologies like HTML and standards that are widely used. So for us, we were running into the problem of paper not allowing us to exchange information easily, and we wanted an electronic way to do this. People who were involved in the early days, like myself, in the TMF reference model, were really struggling with a way to enable interoperability, to share information with models that were primarily paper-based at the time. And so this was I guess the spark that lit the fire was to move toward a standards-based approach for interoperable exchange of data. Think of it more like in the internet, as I said, when you go to do a search, you take it for granted if you type in a search in a browser that you can find multiple result sets. Today, if you do that in eTMF systems, you're only going to find information within a particular very small subset of records that probably work only with your system. What if you could broaden that out and get information back from multiple systems, or exchange that information with multiple systems? So we're really trying to move the clinical trials trial master file area into the internet age, so to speak. And that's why that was our motivation behind this. As going forward, where do we see this going? We see this moving toward, as Rich was alluding to, a broader interaction of systems, a way to exchange information regardless of the platform, regardless of the media, be it cloud, be it network, be it mobile. And all within a standards-based compliant framework that allows global communications between stakeholders in clinical trials to deliver effective therapies to patients faster and more efficiently. That's where we see it going. That's our goal.
Great, thank you, Zach. So this is a good question, and I can answer this, and we have talked about this, but I think it's really important that people understand the nature of the work that's done within the OASIS ecosystem. So here's the question: can the eTMF specification be freely used and distributed?
That's an excellent question. I think everybody, if you get involved with OASIS, you'll see that absolutely all of the work in this initiative and throughout OASIS is public. It's available for access by any organization to freely use within the constraints of the OASIS open organization, which is essentially open source policies. I think the good news here is that you can incorporate this work into any application and without worrying about license fees or other responsibilities.
Right, so and as you said earlier, Zach, you can track the work on the open email archives, and you can also have access to the document repository. That's all publicly accessible. Again, we would like to invite everybody who's on the call to join. Would you guys like to say some wrap-up statements?
So this is Zach here. I'd just like to say, as far as next steps go, we'd ask people to get involved with the specification by providing comments at the very end. I'm going to post this online at OASIS. There is a link to download this work. We're going to publish future work on here, and this is going to be an iterative process until we get this specification ready for publication as a standard, and we certainly appreciate all the help that you can provide. Our deadline for getting any comments and feedback on the work is actually August 8th, so we encourage you to get started today, and we really appreciate everybody joining the call today. So I'm going to open it up for Rich for any closing comments. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, all I would say is just to reemphasize what everybody else has said, is that I believe we have until August 8th to get public comment on the specification, and you know, I think the more feedback we get, the better it will be, and the more usable it'll be across the industry. So I would just encourage those of you on the phone to participate, and if you know of other organizations that also would be interested in reviewing and participating, feel free to let them know about it too. But the more the merrier. So, and I'll just echo thanks everybody for spending the time with us today.
And on behalf of OASIS, Zach and Rich, thank you so much for taking the time to do this webinar today. And thank you to the attendees. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Bye.